Hey Savvy people, it's Savvy Nick here, and today I will be performing a little bit of system maintenance here in VirtualBox on my Windows 10 computer. Hopefully we get to be able to ask some questions about virtual machines and VirtualBox itself. And I'll just kind of be running through installing an Arch Linux today. So let me actually bring up the VirtualBox up here on my computer so everyone can see. All right. And the plan is to create a new virtual machine. Reason being, I need a virtual machine that has Arch Linux on it that I can make edits to, play around with. That's completely base here. And I actually corrupted my last one. So today I figured, why not just spend a little bit of time, show people around on how I do some maintenance here, how I get things set up in VirtualBox. If you have any questions, make sure to post them in the chat. I'll try answering them for you. And make sure to smash that like button to get other people involved. I do appreciate it if you do that for me. All right, the first thing I want to do, if I go up to Tools here, and I select New, I can create myself a new Arch Linux base install. And I'm looking here, my machine folder's just fine. Linux, absolutely. And I have the Arch Linux, the 64-bit architecture, which is great. All right, and the next thing is I need to increase my memory size. I like giving my machines about 8 gigs of memory in order to run my virtual machines. Now, yours might be different depending on how much physical memory you have on your machine and how much you can give up. Just give it something that won't starve your computer. Following that, I'll create a virtual disk now for my Arch Linux setup. The format I really don't care about usually. Since I use VirtualBox for the most part, I just select VDI. All right, so dynamically allocated, that allows some of the storage space to actually be given back to your system. That way you don't have a fixed size that completely takes up however much you end up allocating to the system here in this virtual machine. So let's say I'll just do 64 gigs. So with dynamically allocated, it doesn't really take up the full 64 gigs right away. Instead, it slowly grows. Otherwise, if you had the fix, it would take up the 64. Welcome everyone to the stream. If you're new and just stopping in, think about subscribing. We're about to hit the 8,000 mark here in on the channel, which is really exciting for me. Today, this is kind of, let's see, out of the blue kind of stream. I just wanted a little bit of a chill stream and do some maintenance here, answer any questions if anyone has them. Thank you for stopping by. Say hi in the chat if you are stopping by, and I'll go ahead and create my virtual disk here. Now we have Arch Linux base right here. It's powered off in VirtualBox. And if you're not too familiar with VirtualBox, we just created a virtual machine. And the next thing we'll do is make some settings adjustments. So if I go up here in the right hand or on the top right side, we can get to settings or right click and just hit settings there instead. Hopefully everyone can see this fairly well. And I'd like to switch out a few things in the settings right away with almost all my virtual machines. Specifically for this one, if I go over to the Advanced tab and hit the Shared Clipboard, I like to go bidirectional on this. And then the next thing is if I go back to base, I think I have everything set up like I like it here. If for some reason you like Arch Linux 32-bit instead, you can go for that. But I honestly don't know if they offer a 32-bit Arch Linux installation anymore. I'd have to check that out. Anyways, let's see. What else do I have here? If I go into the system, the other thing in motherboard settings, I like to make sure that I disable the floppy because I'm not going to emulate a floppy disk. I don't know why they even have floppy anymore. I guess there's some people out there emulating floppy disks yet, so why not? We have the optical and the hard disk. I like to keep the optical above because this is actually the boot order. This is something typically missed in VirtualBox. It's kind of hidden, you know. You do have these arrows, and I like to make these first optical, then the hard disk, and then followed by the floppy and network, and I currently have those disabled. Following that, underneath, I have this extended features. So I like to enable the EFI. That way, for my my virtual machine will be emulated as a newer BIOS setup if I enable this EFI. I suggest this just because nowadays most motherboards have EFI-based BIOS firmware, so it's nice for newer machines to emulate it this way. Following that, if we go to the processor tab, we'll change up the amount of cores. If you can spare some extra cores, why not? I like to at least give 2. I can even do up to 4. I have 16 available, so it's quite a bit available there for my computer. Then you can also set an execution cap. If you don't want to give the full, whatever amount of cores you've specified, you can cap those cores at a specific processing amount, so they can only use, let's say, 50% of the core processing power. All right, a little bit of a different stream today. Yesterday we played around in Valorant. Today we're doing some system maintenance here. So welcome anyone who is just stopping in to watch this today. What I will do is we'll continue on here. I think that's it for system. Display, I don't usually change anything around. Storage here, this one is one thing that I like to, well, I have to. In the controller IDE, this is what comes standard here. And we see that we have this disk that says empty. Well, if we go over to this right disk, we click on it, we can choose a disk file on the computer. So I have all these various different disks. I have Debian, so on and so forth. Let's see. And the one I want is my Arch Linux. I have the version from last month, it looks like, that was released. That's the one I'll be using to install with today. I'll hit open on that. And we will now have this disk mounted on this optical drive using this IDE controller. All right. Moving on over here to audio. I honestly disabled the audio. There's no reason for it, honestly, for me. So I take that out. And in networking, you can do it 2 ways here. You can set up NAT. This just shares the network with your current computer. Otherwise, you can do a bridge adapter, and that creates a complete bridge over. So you have what's emulated as a completely separate IP address and hardware. So depending on what you need or like, you can set that up however you need it set up. And we will not mess with the advanced. There's no point in that. Serial, forget it. USB, fine. And in the user interface, I don't like showing this in full screen seamless mode, this mini bar that they offer, so I just uncheck that and I'll hit OK. And we're getting very close to being able to start up our virtual machine. If you're just stopping in, smash that like button for me. It really does help me out. We're just doing some system maintenance here with VBox or VirtualBox. I'm creating a new Arch Linux base installation, and what I'll be doing is I'll be using my own install video. So I will actually post that real quick in the chat for you. Give me one moment here while I bring it up. All right, so this actually is for, this actually here in the chat is a link to should work, hopefully. Let me know if that link works. If not, just copy paste it into your desktop. That's the latest video I have for actually dual booting. So we're not quite dual booting here, but I can still use this pretty much across the board to kind of follow through. It's a good reference if you're trying to set up a base Arch Linux setup with some networking. It's a nice step-by-step guide that I spent a lot of time making. So hopefully it's good enough for you to use. All right, and with that being said, let me start up this virtual machine. If I just hit start up here at the top, things will begin, and let's see. Okay, I'm gonna move it over here. It's coming up, and this is what I'm getting since I have the live disk, well, the install medium disk selected here. We have the Arch Linux install medium for the x86 64-bit architecture. UEFI, since we selected that emulation, I'm going to press enter and let things go over here. And while that's loading up, I should be able to get my video going for me. There's a good minute of stream delay, not surprised. There is a little bit of a delay always with these streams, but hopefully everyone can follow along here. So now I see that my machine has launched, and what I'll do is, I guess we can get kind of started here. The very first thing I want to do is, since I'm going to use an English keyboard, I don't really need to set up the keyboard for Arch Linux, so I'm just going to skip through that. Following the keyboard setup, I do need to make sure that we recognize, if we do ls sys firmware EFI vars, that should, okay, great. So it recognizes EFI. I'll clear that out real quick. Hopefully everyone can see that. I don't know if I can make this a little larger. Maybe I can scale this up. There we go. That's a little better scaled up. Hopefully everyone can see that. Let's see. The next thing, I verified the EFI. That's all good and emulated. I kind of saw that anyway while I was starting up the machine. No big deal. All right, and then if I do, I'll just make sure that I can ping, I don't know, Google or something, just to make sure I have an internet connection, and I sure do, so we're all good there. Clear that out as well. And now if I do, I gotta set up the time here, so time date CTL set-ntp true. That'll help me set that up, and to check the time date status, we can do time date CTL status. And I'm currently active, trying to get the time from a server, so that looks all good. I think the plan next would be to, maybe I'm ready to set up my disks. Let me remind myself here. Yeah, I think we're ready to set up the disk. So I like to use a CF disk. And here, since we don't have anything on our disk currently, it's asking us to select the label type. GPT is going to be the correct label type here since we're using an EFI partition. So that's what I'll be selecting. And enter. Free space. I have 64 gigs available. Currently, CFDisk is telling me where that free space starts and ends. And I really just need to make two different partitions here on my disk. So of course, this is a virtual machine and it's running everything virtually. So we don't have to worry about messing up our normal computer. That's why this thing is great to use. Also, if you haven't already, take a moment, smash that like button for me. Just figured we'd do something a little different today. Need to do some system maintenance here in VirtualBox, so I'm performing it live. Why not? All right, so let's see. That created a Linux file system. That's not quite what I wanted, and that's because I can't see my entire screen here, so I'm gonna have to scroll down a little bit. That way you can hopefully see things, but down here it says to, let's see, we need to change the type, and we can do that by going over to type, pressing enter, oops, pressing enter, and we need to select the EFI system, but that's not what I wanted. I screwed that one up. Let me make this a little smaller because I can't see everything. View, we'll go down to virtual screen. Maybe 125 is better. Yes, now I can see the full screen. All right, so back to this, we'll say, we're gonna first resize hopefully. And the new size here, I'm going to give it only 1 gig on SD8.1. Go down to the free space, give the rest here to SD8.2. I don't need any swap space, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Forget about it. I can always come back in later and add swap space if I really need it on this virtual machine for whatever reason, but I'm going with the base install here. All right, that's my bad. All right, so let's see, dev SD8.1, dev SD8.2. So SD8.1 should be an EFI system partition. We've already changed that up by going over to type. You press enter, and that allows you to change this type to whatever you need. So EFI partition for me. And then in the SD8.2, that's going to be my root file partition, and that needs to be of a Linux file system type, which is actually the default here using CFDisk. So I can go over to write after I'm confident that I got things set up properly here, which I'll do. I'll write that out, and it's telling me, do you want to write this partition table to the disk? Yes, I do. That should give me everything I need, and I can quit out of here now. All right. I'll clear things out, and I think we're doing pretty well so far. We're probably ready to move on to actually formatting these disks. I think that's probably the next thing we need to do. So we have to kind of remember what we had. We had SD8.1 and SD8.2. And in that, we wanted, we'll have to do, I think it's, might get this wrong, mkfs dot, let's see. I think it's, let me look it up real quick before I get it wrong. FAT32. So we want it FAT32. How do we make a FAT32 partition? It's mkfs.fat space with a dash capital F 32, and then dev the specific partition that we want to make. So that's SDA1 is our EFI partition. And that looks like that worked just fine. Awesome. The next thing is we need to create, lost that there. Bring that back up. All right. What I need to create here is my root file. Well, format my root file partition. So that's formatted as ext4. So mkfs.ext4. And I just need to specify the location of that one. So I created it on dev SD8.2, and that's what I will use. So now we have both of those formatted properly. All right. If you have any questions about virtual machines, VirtualBox, or Arch Linux, Linux in general, Windows, whatever platform that you're using, feel free to post them in the chat. Don't be shy. I'll be taking questions. If I can answer them, I can. If I can't, oh well. It might be worth asking the question now since we're live. All right, we will, let's see. My next idea. Where are we at? So we've created our partitions. We've formatted them. Now I could make swap, but that's not necessary. I need to mount my root file partition. So SDA2 to something like mount. So mount's available, so I'll just do it there. And then I need to mount the EFI, which is SDA1 to, gotta remember where. I think that one is on, actually, I think I need to make a new directory first. So make directory, I just mounted on mount, so mnt EFI. Make that directory first, then I'll mount to that directory. So my SDA1, and I'll mount that to the EFI. All right, so that should get things mounted properly. And I think I'm just about ready to install the base Linux package here for good old Arch Linux. Let's see. So if I do packstrap, and then on mount, since that's where we have things mounted, the base, the Linux, and the Linux firmware package, that should be enough to get things started installing here at least. Hopefully this won't take too long. I don't think it will. I think it'll take maybe just a couple minutes here. So a good time to ask questions. If you have any questions, make sure to post them in the chat. Also, make sure to subscribe below if you haven't already. Hit the like button for me. That always helps as well. Hopefully everyone's doing great. Definitely let me know if you like these types of videos where I kind of go through some maintenance and just a little bit of a follow along. Hopefully we can get more people involved here in the future. Had a pretty nice turnout yesterday for the stream when we were playing Valorant. Nice and fun. So it looks like we're already done here. Didn't take long at all to install those packages. I don't see any errors, so that's always great. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to move on. So I'll clear things out. And let's talk about, well, let's generate. We do gen f stab. I think I got that right. I always misspell that one. So it's GENF stab. Yep. And then we do space -u, capital U, on mount. And we need to put that out into the mount etc fstab. And that will generate a new UUID. And following that, I'll do arch and -ch root. This will change root over to the new mounted directory with our root file system. So let's do that. And now if I do ls, I see my root file. Awesome. All right. So now I'm kind of ready to install a few packages on here and get things going. So the first thing, we can link our time zone here with link /sf. think I need you. It's in the user share zone info. And let's see, what do we have here? We have all these different areas available to us. I'm going to select inside the US just to check what they have. Eastern is fine for me. And I need to link that over to Etsy local time, I think. Yeah. Sandro. All right. Yeah, let me try seeing it's local time. This is a new file, local time. Let me try increasing the terminal size here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it here. Arch Linux. See if I have anything in user share KBD console fonts. Oh, here. Let me list these out real quick and see what I have available. Ooh, I have a lot available. Well, let me try doing this. Set font ISO 01. We'll do. See what we have available. ISO. Yeah, 0116. Let's try this one. So there's the 01-12x22.psfgz. There we go. But that does not look that great. We got this medieval font going on now, Sandro. All right. There's probably a better one available here. Let's see. 16. There's so many of them, but I just haven't really tried many of these, so. How about we try a different one? ISO 7.16.gz. Yeah, it's better, but not quite. It'd be nice to get like a 22, but we don't have that. Okay, let me see what else we got. 19. Maybe if I install like terminus font or something, that would make life easier. All to make some text bigger. That's why this can get intimidating here, using Linux and Arch Linux specifically. Callie Katz, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. We are doing some system maintenance here in VirtualBox, installing a base Arch Linux setup. So let me do Arch Linux terminus font. I know this one looks really good. Hopefully I can install that. See, Sandro, if I do it from that, it causes issues, actually, so I can't just do it like that, because I've already increased it. After a while, I can't see it myself if I increase that, because that increases the entire size of the screen and resolution. So then it cuts stuff off for me, and it's not good. So I'm going to install terminus font, and then if I set that, hopefully it's in here. Yes, it is. Okay, so how about the set font? It's all right, we're learning together here. Now we have terminus, so it's TER. Let's try the I22 bpsf.gz. All right, I think that looks much better. Hopefully you can see it now. I'm not going to mess with it too much more, but Control, I don't think it simply works like that in here, does it? Oop. No, I'm pretty sure you can't just do that inside of good old Arch Linux. I think they make it a little bit harder for you just so you just so you struggle a little bit. But I might be wrong. Maybe there is a key sequence that you can use. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. Let's keep on going here. We'll truck along. Now, where was I? So now we need to sync the hardware clock. So we can do that by doing HW clock and -- sys to HC -- sys to HC. If you ever get stuck, a great guide, of course, is the Arch Linux installation guide. I'm not really following along with it right now, but it is amazing. Sometimes it's hard to follow other people. Let me post that in the live stream. Here we go. Yeah, I know it definitely works for most terminals, but not inside of this live TTY here for Arch Linux that I'm aware of anyway. Someone could prove me wrong, absolutely. Feel free to. All right, and moving on. We've synced the hardware clock. Now we can do, let's see, we need some kind of a text editor, so whatever you like. We'll do pacman-syu, and we can get Nano or Vim. I'll just get both and install that fairly quickly there. So we have, well, we have either or text editor to use here because we'll need it to set up a few files, and that gets me everything I need as far as text editors go. Moving on, I will open up I'll use Vim because I like Vim better, locale.gen file in Etsy. And here I'm looking for something like enus, I think. So let me see if I can find it. Here we go. I want my en, so I'm English US, the UTF formatted 8. And I will uncomment that line. So I'll remove the hashtag. I'll go and hit escape a couple times, :X to save and exit. My file's been written. Great. Moving on. And next we will do, let's see, what do I need to, there's another file I need to update for the keyboard, I think. Well, I need to generate so I need to do locale-gen. That will generate the locales, and then I can move on to opening up the config file. So that's Vim in Etsy. Now this one I don't think exists quite yet. No, it doesn't, but we're going to create a config file. So locale.config. Open that up. And here we are going to specify that same language we just got done using. So mine is the English en underscore the US English dot, I think it's UTF-8. So UTF-8. Oh, here we go. Save and exit out of that one again. I think that's all I need in there. Welcome everyone to the stream. Thanks for stopping by. Just say hi in the chat if you have any questions about, well, about Linux, Windows 10, any platform. We're using a little bit of time to set up a virtual machine. I'm doing a little bit of maintenance for myself today. I need to set up an Arch Linux-based system. I actually corrupted my last one, just doing all sorts of fun stuff with it. So I have to make a brand new base install, and then I'll show you how to actually export that machine so it can be used across many different platforms. That's the beauty of these virtual machines. Let's see. First command in Arch Linux, load keys. Yep. Many installs, forget about that. We did go through, I actually did not load keys today because the default's US English, but in my Arch Linux installation, if you watch that, you can definitely see that I do that. What makes Vim good? Sorry for the noob question. Oh no, absolutely. Feel free to ask away. What makes Vim great is it's just very easy to use with your keyboard. It has great keyboard bindings. It's very minimal. Lets you get around your system very quick and make small edits quickly. I don't suggest it for programming personally, just because it's for quick edits, in my opinion. If you have large projects, it gets a little overwhelming unless you install plugins. So great question there, Sandro. Thanks for that. All right, we're moving on here. So I think I need to open up the host file now. It's in host, or no, Etsy host name. Maybe this one doesn't exist. I think I need to create it. So Etsy host name is what I need to create. And we're going to put in a couple definitions here for our host name. So I'm going to do I for insert. I'm going to call this Savvy Nick. And that should be enough for this one. Then in my, so that's my host name now of my computer. That's what I choose to use. So you can write whatever you want, but I'll go to Vim and I'll do Etsy hosts. And if I go down, I'll add a couple lines here. Don't need the hashtag 1270.0.1, tab over, and I'll put, is this localhost? Yeah, localhost here, and then ::1. This will also be localhost. I think that's the loop back there. And 127.0.1. That is going to be, yeah, Savvy Nick and some domain. Now this is the local domain. And then I'll put another space and call it Savvy Nick for my host name. Following that, we'll need some way of accessing the internet after we have finally installed things. Right now, the base package, the base installer has everything you need in order to connect to at least Ethernet. So we'll need something after the fact. So we need a few packages is all. So if we do pacman, let's see, -SYU net CTL. I'll just use a net CTL as my network manager. We can default it to open resolve, or if you like using systemd, you can change it to that one. I'll just continue on. Now that I got that, they specify a couple optional dependencies for a netctl. We have, let's see, and we need some of these. So I'm gonna do, at least for my setup, you don't necessarily need all of these, but pacman SYU, it's not gonna hurt me. So DHCP CD, WAPA supplicant, IF plug D, and I think that's, dialog, if we're going to use Wi-Fi. I know I'm not going to use Wi-Fi, but might as well just get those in case you're wondering what you all need. Yeah, that's a good mention, Callie. A really good place to use Vim, of course, is through SSH. If you have a headless server and you need to log on via SSH, you don't have a graphical way of making edits to files, well, Vim, Nano, those sorts of text editors, command line based, are great for that. Good mention. Are there any skilled Linux users that should not use Arch? I guess it depends on where Arch shines is the AUR, really. It makes your life much easier when you're installing packages that are developed by other users, and I guess can be deemed potentially non-safe. That's why most people like using it as it being better than other distributions. In my opinion, not really. I definitely don't like setting up the base Arch. If I could suggest people to stay away from it, I do. Because you'll get most of what you need from most other Linux distributions, and you don't have to go through this type of a setup. So if you value the amount of time it takes to set up something like Arch Linux, I suggest not doing it. So that's the person I would suggest. People who want to get in and start doing work right away, I don't suggest Arch to do that because it does require a bit of knowledge, both installing it and then after the fact, post-install, installing packages to make your system work. Whereas, you got a lot of Linux distributions out there that are already up to par and you don't have to really set up anything on. All right, so we'll continue on here a little bit. We're really close actually to setting this up. Reminds me, I heard some claim Arch not to be safe. Sadly, most Arch-based distros are bloated. Yeah, I like Arch Labs Linux. It comes with OpenBox. It's pretty lightweight. So I need to add a user. So user add. I'll do user add the -G switch so I can add a group or assign this user to groups. I'm going to assign it to the wheel group. That's really all I care about for now. I can change that up later. I'm going to call him Savvy Nick, and the -M allows you to create a home directory for Savvy Nick. Then after that, I think we just need to set up our password. We can do that with passwd. Type in the username you want to set it up for, so Savvy Nick. And let's see, I'll put in a password. Confirm that password. Whoop, I think I got that wrong. Yes, we got it. Password updated successfully. Moving on to, let's see. I did not set up my root password yet, so if I do password WD, I'll do the same here. And retype that password, set that all up. Looking good, looking great. We're moving right through. Finally, I think we're ready to set up our grub boot manager or bootloader. So I'll do pacman capital SYU, and I'll put grub, and I'll need the EFI boot manager MGR package since this is an EFI based BIOS setup. Press yes for that. We're getting real close here with the only other package I think I need. No, I don't need. I'm not doing this with Windows, so we don't need OS Prober. If you were dual booting, you would need OS Prober, and I can now install for my targeted architecture, install grub. So this one's a little bit of a long, let's see, setup. So I need to do grub -install, then -- target equals X. Let's see, this is x86, 64-bit EFI, and the EFI directory is located in, well, root EFI. Good enough. And then the bootloader ID equal to whatever you want. I'm going to call this Arch. Looks like it installed the platform with no errors reported. Awesome. If you're still watching this, make sure to smash the living crap out of that like button for me because we're making it through. We almost got 8,000 people joined in and subscribed on this channel. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined in and supporting this stream today. Glad to see you on. Glad to see you supporting this. I try to do streams on the weekends. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe right now, and that way you can catch these before they air. All right, so now I just need to create the grub config. So I do grub make mk config -o, and that needs to go to boot /grub .cfg. All right. That should build the config file, and it said it found a Linux image, the initRD image as well, and a fallback initRD image. So we're all good there. I think that actually is getting us really close here to the end of things. Alrighty. If you have any questions about Linux, virtual machines, or VirtualBox, make sure to post them in the chat. I'll try getting around to those. We are at a point where I think we can exit out of this particular root And the next thing we can do is restart. Let's hope that this worked. Otherwise, it's going to be fun trying to get back in and fixing some stuff. All right, we got Grub here launching. Smash that like button because we just installed Arch successfully, a base, clean installation of Arch Linux. Now I'm being asked to go ahead and log in. I'll put my username in, I'll put my password in, and look at that. I've been dropped into the TTY. Everything's installed. Our maintenance is going very well here in our VirtualBox with our Arch Linux based installation running. All right, before I get too far, now I probably do not have, let's see, just ping, I guess, Google. Yeah, temporary failure in name resolution. That's because we don't have any kind of networking setup. This one, oh, it's not too bad. I guess we can do it real quick. Now I can't fix the font currently because I don't have internet. I can't grab the package that I need. I guess I have some fonts built in. Let me ls. Oh, I gotta look at where the fonts are set up. So give me a second. Fonts. I always forget where they're located on this system. I think it's, let's see, user share KDB console fonts. And I'm wrong. There is no KDB. Oh, share. KDB BD. Get that backwards. Console fonts. There we go. I was on the right track. Here's all the fonts available. Okay, so term. Okay, good. I installed it already, so we can just reuse that. I'll do set font. Let's try ter222n.psf.gz. See what that looks like. That's good enough. I think we can see that. Hopefully everyone can see that. Let me know if you can't. Oh my, current time in Sweden, 22:15. It's getting late there for you. Let me see if I can find a little bit better than this. I think I can do the bold. I think the bold would be better. So if I do, let's see, term 22b psf gz. There we go. That looks much better. Now we can continue on with setting up our network. So how do we set up the network? We'll go through and do, we'll copy. Actually, let's first change directories to the etc netctl directory. That's the network manager we set up. We'll copy over from examples. Let's see what examples they have. Ethernet DHCP. And we'll copy it over to the current directory here, and we can call this a custom dash profile. Should be good enough. Oh, I can't do that because I'm not a super user. So let me log in. Su root, since we don't have sudo set up quite yet. I'll do, oh, what do I need to do? After I log in, then I can do CP examples. I'll take the Ethernet IP DHCP example, move it over to our custom profile. We're getting close to setting up our network Vim. We'll open that up. And the interface we can find if we do IPOA. Yes, ENP0S3. So I'll edit that. ENP. See if I can remember that. ENP0S3, and we want to make sure we comment this back in. So we have the DHCP client is DHCP-CD, which is a package we installed, and the interface is updated so it matches our Ethernet adapter that we have available. Whoa, that was a lot, but we're getting through just fine. Thanks for stopping by. If you are stopping in and watching this today, doing a little bit of system maintenance here with VirtualBox. Just wrote that custom profile out, and in order to, let's see, I think that's all we needed to do. What next? I think after we edit that file, we need to run something with netctl. I think we have to enable the profile. So clear this out and do netctl enable, and the custom profile is what I want. And look at that. So it's linked our custom profile here. Awesome. The only other thing I can think about or think of is I need to enable, so we're using systemctl enable DHCP CD. So we haven't enabled that quite yet as a service. So that service here, service. Okay, that's linked in to start it up. I don't think enable starts it up, so I have to do start as well. And as far as that goes, I don't think I'll be able, whoops. Let's see, go back. I gotta try pinging Google again. Okay, we can ping Google now. Awesome. Everything seems to be fine there. And I think we're good to go with our network setup. How awesome is that? If you think that's awesome, make sure to smash that like button for me right now. I do truly appreciate it if you do that. We're very close to finishing up our system maintenance here. We have, let's see, we have almost everything set up. So now I can get packages. How exciting is that? So one package that I want is the sudo package, and then I think I'm done. So we can now, we can't use, I gotta go back into root, because we can't use sudo yet. My mistake. Gotta put my password in, and then if I do pacman-syu, and what do I need? I need the sudo package. That will install sudo for us. And I need to do all capital editor equal, I'll use vim for my editor, and then I think I just need to do vi sudo. This will set up the config file. If I do shift G, go to the bottom, take that out. So what's happening here is the wheel group now belongs to the sudoers. I just uncommented that line out, and it's going to ask for a password. If I try to sudo with, let's say, okay, well, if we use pacman right now, and I guess we try installing something like syu, I'll just do neofetch. It says you cannot perform this operation unless you are root. Good. So if we do sudo pacman syu neofetch, if everything worked out properly, it will allow us to do this, and sure enough, we can type in a password, and it continues on to the installation. So our user, well, my user, SavvyNick, it now belongs to the sudoers group and can be a high privileged, super privileged user. All right. Well, I think I've performed most of my maintenance now at this point. I have things running. Things look pretty good. I like the font, actually. And I have my basic Linux install. Let's make sure to reboot and make sure that everything's running just fine. Very quick reboot, as you can tell here, how quickly that goes through. All right, so if I just type in my user and put in my password, probably got that one wrong. Yeah, gotta wait. Here we go, try again. All right, that's how I got in. And let's try this syu. Yeah, I'll just try installing htop. And forgot sudo. All right, everything seems to be working. Internet's still working. All that's good. congratulations if you made it this far with me. We've successfully installed Arch Linux in VirtualBox, all with this one run. How crazy awesome is that? Taken us a little while, but it's well worth it because now I'm ready to do just a little bit more maintenance with VirtualBox and I will be done. So I'm going to shut down things now. Need sudo in front of that. Now that my base Arch Linux setup is turned off, I can actually create a nice clone of this if I wanted to. So let's say I was going to perform some updates or something I wanted to test on here. So you only got the terminal. So not even a terminal there, Sandro. That's TTY. That's all built in to, I mean, I didn't even install a terminal yet. So that is the absolute minimal base install package that the base Arch Linux packages that you can have, the base Linux firmware, the base, and just base Linux. So it's absolutely clean slated. There's really nothing to it. I just have sudo basically on there and a couple text editors. So it's ready for me to do whatever I need to do. It's a great thing to have for the future. That way I don't have to go through that whole installation process. I have it available here in VirtualBox. And what I like doing right off the bat is actually exporting this machine so I can use it amongst many other different VirtualBox setups that I have. So I have many different, this is my Windows 10 setup, but I have, you know, a Pop! OS, another Arch Linux actual physical machine setup. I have Ubuntu physical machine setup. So I can easily export this this virtual machine and use it anywhere I ever want to. And as Callie Katz says, in order to back things up, always make sure to make a snapshot just in case you do something wrong. But what I like doing is this extra step too. So again, if you just click on, you know, file up here, you hit export appliance. You go over here on the right hand side, select the virtual machine that you want exported. So I'm going to go with my base here that I just got done creating. I'll hit next. In the format, I like to select the latest. And then just put a location where you want to export the machine to. Just to make things, let's see, that's fine. We can write it right there into my documents folder. That's fine. Write the manifest file. I will want that selected, but I don't include my ISO images in. Just unnecessary space used if there is an ISO image attached. Besides that, it will actually pull in all the information about the Arch Linux base virtual machine that I just created. I can hit export. And it says one already exists. This is left over from another machine, I think. I'll just hit OK here. And it'll take a few minutes here to export. It's not too bad. Maybe like, well, it's saying about 2 minutes. I don't know that it'll even take about that long. But what's nice about this is, again, you can transfer it to any computer that has VirtualBox installed on it, whether it be Linux, whether it be Windows, Mac OS. They can all run VirtualBox. So the fact that you can just take this exported OVA file and simply click on it, as long as it's on that host computer where you have VirtualBox stored on and installed on, you can simply bring this exported machine up and you're ready to go right out the gates. And I like doing this a lot because I can then access my virtual machine from just about anywhere. So let me show you what that kind of looks like. If I'll bring it up here in just a moment. Just trying to get something set up on this other screen of mine. And, oops. got things freezing on me over here. Maybe I won't be able to show you that file that like I wanted. But anyways, the export just creates a brand new file on the computer, which allows you to re-import it again. And you just go into VirtualBox, you hit import appliance, you find the file here, and you just hit next, and it imports everything for you. Well, that's really it. We created a brand new Arch Linux base installation today. We spent a little bit of time going through the entire installation for Arch Linux base here using VirtualBox. I'll probably make a separate video with this highlighted. I want to thank everyone who's joined in on this maintenance experience today. I'm going to be calling it a day now. Make sure to subscribe below and hit the notification bell for future streams, future programming and Linux videos. And make sure to smash that like button for me. It really does help me out. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please make sure to post them in the comments section below. And I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.